She called me, our little shadow, and stole the guy I liked, twice. The second time, something finally snapped. But not the way she expected. They used to call me princess, not the tiara and glitter kind, but the quiet, weird one you keep around so you can feel prettier standing next to her. And I believed them. God, I really did. I thought we were friends, real ones, the kind that sneak snacks into movies and have sleepovers where nothing bad happens, where no one whispers when you leave the room. I had braces and those awful transition lenses that never turned clear indoors and clothes that always felt one size off. But I laughed at their jokes, took the pictures where I stood in the back, offered my notes, told them they were beautiful like it was my job, because I thought maybe if I loved them hard enough they'd let me belong. And for a while, I did, or I thought I did, until that day after gym when I went back to get my water bottle and the door was half open and I heard them laughing, and I froze because it was my name. My name coming out of her mouth like a punchline. She said, "Come on." Next to her we look like models. She's like a little troll in a hoodie, and another voice said, "No, no. She's sweet. She's our background girl. Can't have a spotlight without contrast." And they all laughed. I stood there with my hand on the doorknob and my throat full of glass, and I could have left, could have gone home and cried into my pillow like I always did, but I didn't. I pushed the door open so hard it hit the wall and I said, "You fake bitches think I don't hear you," and they all turned. Some wide-eyed, some smirking. One of them actually had the audacity to say, "Babe, we were joking, chill," and I lost it, screaming, shaking, tears streaming down my face as I called them out one by one, their lies, their digs, the way they used me to feel better about themselves. And when I was done, really done, they clapped, slow sarcastic claps like in a bad movie, and one of them laughed and said, "Wow, that was dramatic." And I walked out to the sound of their giggles, echoing off the hallway tiles like knives in my spine. And after that I didn't go back, not to that lunch table, not to those messages, not even to the year-end party. I faded out like a bruise under a sleeve, and no one came looking. I thought college would be different, a clean start, like all those dumb movies where the girl walks onto campus and suddenly no one remembers who she used to be. But that's not how it works when the voice in your head still whispers their words back at you, when every mirror feels like a trap and every compliment sounds like a setup. So I kept to myself, hood up, eyes low, lectures and notes and back to my dorm, rinse and repeat. I didn't go to parties for the first few months, didn't talk to anyone unless I had to, until my roommate begged me to come to this one get-together. Just normal people and cheap wine, she said. So I went, heart pounding, makeup light, hair brushed 100 times, and it wasn't terrible. I stood near the kitchen, held a red cup like it meant something, and then a guy came up to me, not bad looking, not weird, just normal, and he talked to me like I wasn't invisible, like I was funny, even beautiful, and for a moment I forgot to be scared. I laughed. We talked about horror movies and bad cafeteria food, and I could feel something shift, something open, and then I saw her, from high school, one of them, and my chest clenched so hard I thought I might actually collapse. She walked straight up, like she owned the floor, smiled at the guy and said, "Oh hey, you met our little shadow," then turned to him and said, "You have no idea how clingy she gets. I'd be careful," and she laughed, light and cruel. And he laughed too, like maybe it was a joke. Maybe I was in on it, but I wasn't, because the next thing I knew she had her hand on his arm and was pulling him into the living room, and he let her, like I was just a warm-up act, and I stood there alone, heart cracked wide open and leaking all over the linoleum, and no one saw, no one cared. So I left, slipped out without saying anything, walked the whole way back to my dorm in the cold without my jacket, climbed under the covers still in my jeans and cried until my face went numb. And the next morning I packed a bag, told my professors I had the flu, and took the train home for the long weekend, just so I could sleep somewhere that didn't make me feel like I was 15 and stupid again. Home felt quieter than I remembered, maybe because I was used to carrying noise inside me all the time. My mom hugged me tighter than usual, didn't ask too many questions, just made soup and let me stay in pajamas all day, and my dad acted like he didn't notice I barely spoke, which was his version of love. But the surprise was my brother being there, 6 years older and almost a stranger now, but he was visiting with his wife, and she was intimidating, the kind of beautiful that looks like it came with a birth certificate and good lighting. But she wasn't cold, not even close. She smiled like she saw through me and didn't mind what was there. We ended up talking in the kitchen late one night while everyone else was asleep, and I don't even remember how it started, just that I told her everything, not in some dramatic spill but slowly, like unraveling a knot that had been in my chest for years. and she didn't gasp or tell me I was overreacting or that girls can be mean sometimes. She listened, eyes soft, and said, "You know none of that was about you, right?" And I blinked, confused, and she said, "People like that, they feed on shrinking the room so they feel bigger, and you made them nervous." And I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded, and then she smiled and said, "You don't have to stay this version of you, you know that?" And something about the way she said it made me want to try. She suggested yoga or some kind of movement, said it helps more than therapy sometimes, that being in your body, really in it, changes everything. And when I got back to campus I actually looked it up, found a beginner yoga group that met 3 nights a week in a rec center that smelled like dust and eucalyptus, and I went, awkward at first, hiding in the back, shaking in every pose. But no one laughed, no one looked, and one of the girls, quiet, kind, no makeup, real, asked me after class if I wanted to grab tea, and I said yes, and just like that I had a person, not a perfect one, not a popular one, but someone who saw me without expectations. I kept going, to yoga, to class, to my life, and slowly I changed. The braces came off, the layers of sadness and shame started to melt. I moved like I lived inside my own skin again. Guys started noticing, holding doors, asking questions, offering drinks, and I smiled, said thanks, and walked away, because for the first time I wasn't desperate to be chosen, I was watching someone else instead, a guy from yoga, the one who always helped set up mats and stayed behind to clean up, soft-spoken, steady, warm, and I started staying a little later just to talk to him, and one evening, without overthinking it, I asked if he wanted to grab food sometime, just the two of us, and he smiled like he'd been waiting for me to say it. It wasn't some movie montage after that. We didn't fall into bed or run through fields or post cute couple photos. We just talked. We met for ramen one cold Thursday night and laughed about how bad we both were at small talk. We started walking home together after yoga, swapping playlists and stories, sometimes not even talking, just breathing side by side. And it felt easy in a way that didn't scare me. I didn't try to impress him, I just let myself be, and he never made me feel like I had to shrink to fit into his life. A few weeks passed like that, quietly, and then came that big campus event, some end of semester thing with free food and long tables and way too many people, and he waved me over when I walked in, patted the seat beside him, and I felt it, that flutter in my chest that didn't come with fear this time. I sat, we talked, my new friend joined us, everything was warm and light, until I saw her, the one from high school, the one who stole voices and rooms and oxygen. She spotted us, made a beeline across the floor like it was choreographed, and before I could brace myself she was leaning on our table, all charm and sugar, said his name like they were old friends and complimented his shoulders or some bullshit, then looked at me with that same polite smile that used to gut me, like I was something she'd forgotten to scrape off her shoe, and I froze, everything in me waiting for him to laugh, to leave, to let her take another piece of me, but he didn't. He looked at her, kind but unreadable, and said, "I'm flattered, really. But I'm already interested in someone else," and turned to me like there wasn't even a question about it, and in that moment I didn't feel beautiful or triumphant or vindicated, I just felt still, like the ground had stopped shaking under my feet. She blinked, laughed, tossed her hair and walked off like she didn't care, but I didn't watch her go. I looked at him, and he looked at me, and I smiled, not because I'd won anything, but because I didn't need to anymore. Later that night we lay on the grass outside the dorms, side by side, fingers barely touching, and he said, "You're not like anyone else," and for the first time in my entire life I didn't flinch. I just looked up at the sky and said, "I know." They used to laugh at the way I dressed, not loudly, not directly, but in that slow, intentional way girls do when they want to hurt you without ever saying anything mean, side glances, fake compliments, group photos where I'd get cropped out or tagged last. They called me brave for wearing jeans that didn't flatter me and creative for putting glitter on my eyelids, and I smiled, played along, because that's what you do when you want to be included more than you want to be respected. I knew they didn't like me. I wasn't stupid, but I thought maybe if I stayed quiet, if I was useful, if I took the joke and laughed too, they'd keep me around. I was the girl who carried the charger, who shared notes, who never said no, and that was my place. Not a friend, not a threat, just someone they could forget until they needed something, and I stayed in that role because I didn't know what else there was. My body never fit right. My voice was too weird, my clothes were always one step behind. And I knew I'd never be pretty enough to lead, but maybe I could be tolerated, and so I let it happen. I let them speak over me, let them joke about my Instagram, let them post pictures where I looked awful, and I said nothing. I was always scared that if I pushed back I'd lose even that little sliver of belonging. And then came graduation night, senior party at someone's parents' house in the suburbs. I wore a second-hand black dress that didn't really fit, hair up in a bun I practiced too many times. I felt okay walking in, like maybe I had made it, maybe this night wouldn't hurt. But of course it did. They were already there, loud and glossy and golden, and as soon as I stepped into the room, someone turned and said, "Look who finally decided to dress like a girl," and everyone laughed, not fake laughed, real laughed, and I stood there holding a cup of warm soda like I'd just stepped into a nightmare wearing hope on my face. My throat closed up and my cheeks burned and I walked out. Didn't say anything, didn't scream or break anything, just walked, past the yard, down the street, and when I got far enough away I started crying, quietly, like always. I went home, locked my door, deleted the group chat, deleted every photo, every message, every trace, like I could erase 4 years in one night. And when I got to college, I didn't try again. No clubs, no roommate chats, no parties. Just classes and silence and headphones and straight lines. I wasn't going to be a joke ever again. I wasn't going to give anyone that opening. If I couldn't be liked, I'd be invisible, and invisible felt safer. College was the only place I ever felt invisible on purpose, and I held on to that like armor. I didn't make friends, didn't go out, didn't post. I studied, worked nights at a UPS hub and ate lunch alone on the campus quad. I didn't want peace, I just didn't want to be noticed, and it worked. No one laughed at me because no one talked to me, and I got good at being a ghost, but a smart one. I kept a 3.8 GPA and every professor I had called me reliable, clean work, zero excuses. I finished early. Showed up early, never asked questions I could Google, and that's what got me into. Let's call this company Walkins and Herper, a mid-sized firm in Minneapolis that only took 4 interns a year. It wasn't glamorous but it was serious, and I needed that more than anything. The first week I barely spoke. I watched everything, tracked who ran meetings, who asked good questions, who got eye contact from the director, and I copied that. By week 3 I was getting pulled into projects I wasn't assigned to, and when the internship ended, they offered me a junior position right away. I moved into a basement studio off Hennepin and said yes without hesitation. First year I kept to myself, but my work spoke. Clients liked my tone, supervisors liked my briefs. I got moved into strategy by month 8 and promoted before year 2. I had no friends but I had a 401k. I had no weekends but I had a name people remembered. I got sharper, tighter, stopped dressing like I had something to prove, and started walking into meetings like I belonged at the table, because I did, and then on. A Monday in April, 2 years and 3 weeks after I was hired, I walked into the office with coffee in one hand and my phone in the other, and I saw her, talking to HR, new intern by the look of it, dark blazer, stiff blouse, name tag flipped backward, voice too soft, and I almost walked past, but then she turned and I saw the mouth, the smirk, and something in me clenched. It was Madison Carter, from Broomfield High, the girl who once called my prom dress brave, to my face, and Goodwill chic. Behind my back, the one who always asked if I'd done something, on purpose, when I clearly had. She hadn't been the worst, just the most consistent, the kind of bully you can't even quote because every line sounds polite on paper. And now she was here, in my building, my floor, starting fresh like we were all just blank pages. But I wasn't blank, and I wasn't 16. I didn't say anything. I didn't look long. I just kept walking, stepped into the elevator, and let the doors close in her face. She didn't recognize me, of course not. I'd made damn sure of that, and I didn't want revenge, not really. But I won't lie, something about seeing her there made my coffee taste sweeter. She ended up in my project group by the second week. I didn't assign her there, but I didn't move her either. She looked nervous all the time, nodding too much, taking notes like a scared freshman, and I watched her. She wasn't good, not terrible, just slow, like she didn't understand how fast this place moves. I saw her mess up calendar invites, pull the wrong client files, confuse acronyms, and I didn't correct her. I let it sit, let her feel the weight of silence after her mistakes. I didn't lie or sabotage anything. I just didn't offer help. I gave her vague answers when she asked, said things like, check the wiki, or ask Maggie from ops, which of course slowed her down even more. By Friday she already looked wrecked, makeup cracked by noon, hair coming loose, fingers shaking when she typed, and part of me should have felt something like pity. But I didn't, not yet. I was too busy remembering the way she used to smile when she pushed me closer to the edge and then acted surprised. When I snapped, now she was the one unraveling, and I let her. First client check-in she didn't say a word, second meeting she mumbled through her notes and someone asked her to repeat herself twice. By the time we hit the Monday team sync she was already behind, and I knew it. I saw it coming. I sat across the table while she tried to present her part of the campaign timeline, and she fumbled everything, dates, platform names, even the brand's main product. She said deodorant when it was clearly skincare. The room went quiet, then tense, then someone coughed to fill the space, and I just watched, didn't nod, didn't jump in, just waited, and after 5 more painful minutes the manager wrapped the meeting early and we filed out like nothing happened. She looked like she'd been punched, didn't even pack up her laptop, just grabbed her phone and left the room first. I didn't follow her. I turned to Clara from HR and asked if she wanted to grab lunch. We go every Monday, same place. 2 blocks down. They know our order before we sit, and today we didn't talk about the new quarter. We talked about the intern. Clara said she probably wouldn't come back tomorrow. I said nothing, just took a sip of my iced tea and smiled to myself. I was happy, like kid on Christmas happy, not proud of it but not exactly ashamed either. And then Clara said she'd probably draft the exit paperwork just in case. And I don't know why but something in me stalled. Maybe it was the way she said exit paperwork, so casual, like ending someone's shot at getting out of wherever they came from was just another Monday task. And I looked down at my food, hadn't touched it, stomach twisted a little, not regret, just a shift, like I'd been leaning too hard into something and finally noticed the pressure. And I looked at CLA RA and said, actually, don't file it yet. She blinked and asked why, and I said, maybe she just needs more time, that's all. Clara shrugged and said okay, she'd wait a day, and we went back to talking about nothing, but inside I was pacing. Something had changed and I didn't know what to do with it. I wasn't planning to talk to her. I thought I'd done enough just by stopping the paperwork. Maybe she'd get another shot, maybe she'd blow it, not my business. I'd already made peace with the fact that she probably didn't remember who I was, and honestly that was fine. I didn't need her to. I liked the idea that she was flailing in front of the same person she once made flinch. But after lunch I headed back to the floor and stopped by the restroom near the break room, not because I needed to, but because I needed a second, and that's when I heard it. Someone crying behind the far stall door, not sniffles, not just tearing up, this was full body shaking, trying to breathe through it crying, and I knew, I don't know how, but I knew it was her. I stood there for maybe 10 seconds, frozen, thinking I should just leave, let her fall apart in peace. I didn't owe her anything, she hadn't earned comfort from me. But my feet didn't move, and then she gasped a little too loud and I said, hey. Someone in there, and she went dead quiet, like she wished she could disappear, and then, softly, yeah, sorry, I'll be out in a minute. I could have walked away, I should have, but I stayed, leaned against the sink and said, you okay? Which was stupid because clearly she wasn't. She didn't answer right away. Then she said, I don't think I'm cut out for this, and I said, it's your first month. No one is. She let out a shaky laugh, more like a cough, and then silence, and then, all at once, she said, my dad's sick, like really sick. He can't work anymore, and my mom's paycheck barely covers rent. This internship was supposed to be my way out. I needed this to turn into something, and now I'm just screwing it up like everything else. And it hit me in the stomach, not because it excused anything but because I knew that voice, the edge in it, the one that already believed it was over. I stayed quiet. She didn't know who I was. And I didn't tell her, I just said, I can help you, if you want. She didn't respond at first, so I added, after hours, a couple times a week. We go over your tasks, I'll explain whatever you need, no judgment. And finally she asked, why would you do that? And I didn't know how to explain it, not without giving everything away. So I just said, because someone should. She came out of the stall red-faced, eyes swollen, but calmer. She said, okay. And I nodded like it was no big deal, like I wasn't already thinking about how I'd carve out the time. That evening we stayed late. I walked her through how to build out briefs the right way. She took notes like it was gospel, and she didn't cry once. We did that twice a week for the next 3 months. She got better, sharper, the shaking stopped, the panic faded. She asked better questions. The rest of the team started trusting her. Eventually she got moved into my department full-time, and we worked well together, like surprisingly well. She never found out who I was, not really, and I never told her. It didn't matter anymore, because I wasn't doing it to teach her a lesson or to prove I was better. I did it because at some point you have to choose who you're going to be. You can build something or you can tear it down, brick by brick, and I've already lived in ruins long enough. Subscribe, hit the like button, and explore more fascinating stories.